Etobicoke Park.
It's a bit unnerving. We walk along here quite often.
I was like talking to my fiance about how nice this park is and how we're excited about kind of being in the area, but now I feel like I gotta look over my shoulder everywhere I go.
Resident reaction and who the victim was. Plus,
the variant is playing a role in the policy. What that will mean is that reacting faster and reacting sooner.
some regions slamming the brakes on reopening as cases of new COVID-19 variants rise. And
the idea is to put a week's worth of food into a box and get these hampers out to all of the food banks across Ontario that request them.
boxes full of staple foods going to families in need as food banks see increased demand during the pandemic.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Good evening. We start with developing news tonight. Toronto police have made an arrest in a homicide in the city's West End. The victim has been identified as a woman in her 60s. She was found dead in an Etobicoke Park yesterday morning. Our Dahlia Ashry is live for us tonight at the scene. So Dahlia, what's the latest?
Marival, Toronto police have confirmed an arrest has been made in the investigation. 37-year-old Colin Hatcher has been charged and arrested with second-degree murder. Police have confirmed that 7-year-old Colin Hatcher is the son of the victim, 69-year-old Kathleen Hatcher. Toronto police say they received a crisis call yesterday morning. They arrived here at around 10:45 at King Mills Park, and that's where they found the body of 69-year-old Kathleen Hatcher along one of the trails. Now, we don't know much more about Kathleen Hatcher other than the fact that she was a retired employee with the Toronto District School Board. She worked at the Burnhamthorpe Collegiate Adult Learning Centre. The TDSB released a statement this afternoon saying she is being remembered as an extraordinary person who was wonderful with learners and colleagues. Police also say that Hatcher sustained serious significant injuries and that she called emergency for help. Now, I spoke to a few people who live in the area and they told me that with the COVID, they've been taking more walks along the trails, and this caught them by surprise, knowing that a murder, someone was killed in broad daylight, has caught them off guard.
It's a bit unnerving. We walk along here quite often. My mom, who's in her early 70s, also often goes out for walks, so it makes you pause to, think about that things can happen whenever.
Oh, very scary. I never thought that kind of thing happened here. A very peaceful country, Every day I'm walking here, lots of people. How come that kind of thing happen here?
Now, police say they don't know how Hatcher died or the nature of her injuries, but they say that an autopsy was scheduled for today. Now, the other thing that police have confirmed is that there was a car that was towed away from the scene here, and that is related to the investigation, but we don't know much more about the relationship between that car and the current investigation. Now, police are asking for anyone, if they have seen anything, any suspicious activity in the area, to contact police. Marival?
All right, Dahlia, thank you so much for this. Now to some dramatic video out of Peel region where police say a 35-year-old man has been arrested after allegedly stealing a tow truck and smashing into several cars before taking off into a residential area. The video, which was posted on YouTube, captured the moments after officers chased the tow truck down and blocked the driver in, prompting Ontario's police watchdog to launch an investigation. Police say they were first called to a plaza parking lot near West Drive and Queen Street East in Brampton for reports of multiple men arguing. It's alleged a man stole the tow truck and then hit some unoccupied vehicles in the parking lot before driving away. There are no reports of any injuries. And Toronto police are looking for this man in connection with a robbery investigation that happened on February 2nd in the area of Cosburn and Logan Avenues. Police say he tried to steal a 76-year-old woman's purse before dragging her for 10 feet. She was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police described the suspect as white, in his mid-40s, between 5'6" to 6 feet tall, with a medium build. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Now to news on the pandemic in this province. Some regions of Ontario are being permitted to ease COVID restrictions, but the province is pulling its emergency brake on others. Cases have been spiking in Simcoe, Muskoka and Thunder Bay, so both are going back into lockdown as of Monday. CBC's Talia Ricci has the details.
After less than 2 weeks in the red zone, Ontario is pulling the emergency brake on Simcoe, Muskoka, placing the region back into lockdown.
It feels like the blink of an eye, honestly.
Just last week, Valiance posted on their Facebook page saying, "Now you can sit in our warm dining room again." A short-lived offer. They'll be back to only offering takeout and delivery on Monday.
Last weekend on Saturday, we had our best day in probably 7 months. So, it was nice to come out of lockdown even for that, come up for a breath of air, I guess.
Health officials say Simcoe, Muskoka has the highest presence of variants in the province, and this move is to immediately interrupt transmission and contain community spread. Thunder Bay is also being sent back into lockdown.
The variant is playing a role in the policy. And what that will mean is that reacting faster and reacting sooner. What we're concerned about with the variant is that it's going to spread quickly.
On Friday, Ontario reported more than 1,200 new daily cases of COVID-19, the most on a single day in nearly 2 weeks.
We will always see a slight change or a slight increase due to changing public health measures.
But this researcher says it's too early to know what this latest trend means.
It's hard to say exactly right now, just because it's been only a couple of days, maybe a week or so of, no longer seeing sustained declines, more of a steadying off. So we'll have to keep our eye out for the next week or two.
In Peel, mayors are pushing to move the region to the red zone. Businesses closed under the current orders are complaining that they're losing customers to neighboring cities with looser restrictions.
We cannot stop them from going. So then when we do reopen, what does that leave us?
7 other Ontario regions will also move into new levels of the color-coded framework on Monday, but Toronto and Peel will remain under a stay-at-home order until at least March 8th. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
The province reporting 1,185 new cases today, 535 of which are variants of concern. Toronto with the largest chunk of daily cases, reporting 331, Peel region with 220, and York region reporting 119 cases. The number of people hospitalized with the virus currently stands at 680, 276 of which are in intensive care units, and 182 patients are on ventilators. And 16 more people with COVID-19 have lost their lives. COVID-19 vaccines should be prioritized not just by age groups, but also the neighborhood you live in. That's one of the findings of Ontario's Science Advisory Table just released on Friday. The group says the pandemic has taken a disproportionate toll on older adults and people living in low-income and racialized neighborhoods in Toronto. Our Farah Morali has been tracking reaction in one of the hardest-hit areas of the city.
Outside Flemington Health Centre, a group of volunteers unloads boxes of food. They're making healthy snack kits for children in the neighborhood, a gesture of support for parents who are struggling right now.
Every week we will be giving 300 new kits. So the priority is low-income families, especially single mothers with number of kids.
Thorncliffe Park has been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, with tens of thousands of people living in high-rise buildings and a predominantly racialized population, many of whom work essential jobs. All that has put them at an increased risk of catching and spreading COVID-19. Community members are happy to see new data highlighting the importance of vaccinating communities like this.
It will be good if we will prioritize the neighborhood according to the population and according to the number of cases, especially in Thorncliffe.
What the province's Science Advisory Table found is this:
prioritizing vaccines not just by age, but by neighborhoods too, could prevent thousands of new cases in just the next few months and even save lives, especially in neighborhoods like this.
It validates what we have been saying.
Ahmed Hussein has been pushing for the prioritization of vulnerable communities. He now hopes the government will actually listen to the advice.
The science and advisory group really followed the science and saw that is logical thing, and we hope the government will do that.
Until shots start going into arms, community health workers are helping those in vulnerable communities in other ways.
Some of the key examples are making sure that folks continue to get tested. I think during this vaccine rollout and everyone focusing on getting access to the vaccine, we're forgetting that actually testing and tracing is now just as important, almost more important than ever.
1, 2, 3,
and volunteers are doing their part too.
Along with the food, we are also distributing masks as well. So far we have distributed 2,500 adult masks and 900 kids masks.
Thank you.
Small gestures that help in a big way. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
As the pandemic continues, Canadian hospitals are reporting a spike in the number of people seeking treatment for eating disorders.
We saw an immediate increase in folks reaching out to us because food security and food insecurity has a lot to do with it. Eating is a very structured activity, and right now those lines are so blurred, and I think a lot of people don't know when those lines will ever come back.
The National Eating Disorder Information Centre says calls have more than doubled, and it has many frontline workers calling it a shadow pandemic, given the impact on people's mental and physical health. The centre says it has seen a 70% increase in calls and texts. This includes an almost 90% increase in chats from people 25 and younger. You're looking live at Collingwood tonight, a town in the Simcoe-Muskoka region that is going back into lockdown starting Monday. As you heard earlier, the region was in the red zone for less than 2 weeks before the province pulled the brakes on reopening after rising cases of the variants of concern in the area. Let's check in with Sophia now for the forecast. Just a glorious day today, Sophia.
Wasn't it amazing? Especially after that rain cleared and we got some of that sunshine coming out. Spring had, well, sprung for a little while. We actually reached some double digits in parts of the province as well. 10 in Windsor, 5 in Toronto, 9 in Sarnia. More of the same for Sunday. Spring-like warmth, but with some continued messy, gloomy, rainy interruptions. It'll be kind of a soggy day. Not a ton of rain, but it'll stick with you most of the day. Little chilly in the morning. Early morning's your best shot of sunshine tomorrow. And then still chilly with a gusty east wind in the afternoon. But after the wind shifts into the evening to the south, you'll have quite a nice warm up. Still with that soggy rain sticking around for most of the day till about 10 p.m. It's not a lot though, about 2 to 5 millimeters. And depending on how much sunshine you get before and after the rain, you could see double digits again as well in places like Windsor. Southwestern Ontario has the better shot of late day sun, better shot of early morning sun for those of you kind of east of Whitby, Oshawa and Durham region. Now, for those of you who are expecting this to continue, a bit of a plummet when it comes to temperatures as we head into Monday and Tuesday. Bit of a cool down and maybe even a shot of snow, but we'll talk more about that in the long range because it's actually not a bad 7-day forecast. You will have some sunshine and enjoy the warmth tomorrow.
Yes, that's the plan for sure. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks, Sophia. Joe Biden's coronavirus relief package narrowly passed through the U.S. House of Representatives, but it faces an uphill battle in the Senate. More on that coming up. Justin Trudeau appears on this week's edition of NBC's Meet the Press. And in the interview, he concedes that the COVID-19 vaccine rollout is not going as quickly as he'd hoped.
Obviously, it's not going as fast as everyone would want. We all want this pandemic to be over yesterday and to vaccinate everyone as quickly as possible. But we're confident that in the coming weeks, hundreds of thousands vaccines every week, millions into the coming months, we're going to have everyone vaccinated probably by the end of the summer.
Part of an interview with Justin Trudeau airing on NBC's Meet the Press this week. U.S. President Joe Biden's coronavirus relief package has passed its first test. The U.S. House of Representatives narrowly approved the $1.9 trillion bill with no bipartisan support. Now, the Senate will have its turn. As CBC's Stephen D'Souza reports, some of Biden's more progressive policies will face an uphill battle.
Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
In the early hours Saturday morning, the House of Representatives delivered Joe Biden a political win, passing a $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill.
We have no time to waste. If we act now, decisively, quickly, and boldly, we can finally get ahead of this virus.
The bill includes billions of dollars for schools, vaccine testing, hard-hit industries, and checks for most Americans.
We are one step closer to putting $1,400 in the pockets of Americans. We're one step closer to extending unemployment benefits for millions of Americans who are shortly going to lose them.
But it's just the first step. The next battle comes in the Senate, where the Biden administration is fighting a political battle to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Budget rules are complicating the effort to include it in the COVID bill, much to the frustration of those who see it as a key policy for Biden.
Like, honestly, people who are struggling to pay their bills don't care about procedure, don't care about partisanship, they just want results.
The issue is a test for Biden over whether he seeks compromise with Republicans or fights for policies championed by progressives.
So I think the name of the game for us is results and urgency. And I think it's actually critical that Democrats who finally have control of the federal government demonstrate that they understand that urgency.
Action that advocates say is vital to help families worried that eviction moratoriums are expiring soon.
That's a Category 5 storm on the horizon, and it's coming. And when all of those people have to pay back all of the rent they haven't had to pay, they don't have that money. They haven't been able to work. So if there's any kind of solution there, we need to find it quickly.
But help may not come immediately. It could be another 2 weeks before a bill reaches the president's desk. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Police in Myanmar have unleashed the widest crackdown measures yet on protests denouncing this month's military coup. Police used tear gas, stun grenades, and clubs. Hundreds were arrested, including journalists. At least one protester was shot. The military seized power February 1st, detaining the Democratic government leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Her whereabouts are now uncertain after reports yesterday she had been moved. A funeral was held today for the man whose garden walks captured world attention at the pandemic's onset, Captain Sir Tom Moore. The funeral was small, only 8 people attended, all family, but an Air Force flypast honored the World War II veteran, and soldiers were his pallbearers. Walking 100 laps of his garden ahead of his 100th birthday, Moore raised millions for Britain's National Health Service and inspired a world in a pandemic lockdown. In January, his family announced he himself had contracted COVID-19. He died February 2nd. Pop star Lady Gaga's 2 French bulldogs, stolen at gunpoint Wednesday, have been recovered unharmed. The pets were snatched from their dog walker in Hollywood. The dog walker was shot in the chest. The dogs were returned yesterday by a woman police say is unassociated with the theft. Lady Gaga is currently in Rome shooting a new movie. The dog walker is expected to make a full recovery. Volunteers stuffed emergency food boxes to help local food banks today for those affected by the pandemic. More on the initiative after the break.
think it's as good as I can expect for, given how things were in Kapuskasing, about a month ago.
Well, for those who've missed watching the latest blockbuster on the big screen, movie theaters in parts of Ontario and Quebec are reopening. But the two provinces are playing by slightly different rules. For some theaters reopening in Ontario, it's back to business while still following regional health guidelines. Meanwhile, theaters in Quebec were allowed to reopen Friday, but are not allowed to sell popcorn. This has some owners wondering how long they can continue to operate. Due to pandemic guidelines, theaters in Quebec cannot sell food to customers, and residents must be home by 8 p.m. After the weather we've been having, Sophia, I think we're all primed for spring. It's coming.
Everybody was really looking forward to the warm up this weekend, the spring-like temperatures, the bump up to almost double digits. But really, it hasn't been an awful winter so far. Actually, I'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. But first, you do get another taste of spring, a rinse and repeat day for Sunday. And I put a heavy emphasis on the rinse because it's going to be kind of a soggy, gloomy, rainy day. But hey, I'll take 5 degrees, even warmer for the evening, maybe 6 you'll push for the city of Toronto, maybe double digits in Windsor. Have a look at Monday, though. March comes in as kind of a mixed bag. Temperatures plummet, even a shot of snow, but it's the really gusty north wind that I want to talk about as well. Squalls is going to be the story after the rain passes for Sunday. It's a chilly, windy, blustery, not a ton of snow day on Monday, but we're talking that light squalls that could be blown away by 60, 70, even 80 km/h winds. You want to watch out for any deadwood if you're walking in any forested areas to get out and about on Monday. But then the south wind comes back for Tuesday. It'll actually be quite nice later on in the work week. But first, watch the temperatures plummet Sunday into Monday, and then here's the light at the end of the tunnel. The southerly flow comes back, and you have the potential for more double-digit days as we say hello to March. Plenty of sunshine as well throughout many of the GTA cities. It'll actually be quite nice. And you know what? Hasn't been bad all in all this winter. We've actually trended above average for really much of it so far. Really, it's just been the last little stretch of February where we have been below the sort of average high. It's been trending upper. And you'll have the same over the next few days, maybe even the chance for double digits again this week.
Hasn't been that bad at all. You're right. Thanks, Sophia. Well, COVID-19 has caused devastating impacts, though, to the food bank system and has increased the level of food insecurity for people in Ontario. Global Medic has teamed up with volunteers to help feed families in need during the pandemic.
The idea is to put a week's worth of food into a box and get these hampers out to all of the food banks across Ontario that request them so that they can then give them to families.
The organization is spending the weekend packing staple food items to be distributed through local food banks and is continuing to pack boxes for Feed Ontario's COVID-19 emergency food box program as well.
It feels great to help out on an international scale, especially with COVID-19. I feel like it's been a difficult time for everyone.
The charity is also continuing to help package meals such as rice and other essential food items to provide relief in foreign countries that have experienced natural disasters. Some great work being done there. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. We are going to leave you with a look at the beautiful weather today in Markham. On the first weekend, the region is in the red control level. Have a great night, everyone. And as always, please stay safe out there.